Hello everybody watching the recorded version here. Just going to wait 3 minutes for people to come in as I am doing this live, but I want to do this live because I do believe our temporary top is about to be set on some of these high runners here. I'm going to be looking at NEO, OMG, and then the big three. And I want to do it live rather than have it process and come out late. So we'll start here in just about 2 minutes and see what we can see. So we're going to get going here in 30 seconds. All right, let's get going. So I'm going to start off with NEO and OMG because they are seeing some big time breakouts, and then I'm going to be looking at the big three. So starting off with NEO, the first thing I want to point out is obviously significant blue sky breakout. The lack of resistance in blue sky breakout is a bull's best friend. And when you see a move like this, where you have huge gains in one day, obviously that shows why. So 5-cent move here, not a 5-cent move, but 0.005, and coming from 7, that's almost a 100% move. So what I want to point out first is look at the last breakout. We had a huge breakout back here in June, and after the top was hit, we pulled back over 60%. That's the biggest thing that I want to point out here. So I personally would absolutely be looking to sell on this move to the upside because I would anticipate at a bare minimum a 30% pullback, and I think it's going to be more likely more than that, but that's just my conservative estimation of what we're going to pull back from this temporary top, which will allow people to take profit and rebuy for more coins if that's what you desire at a cheaper level. So I am looking for a top to be set right now. I do believe we are on the verge of doing that, of seeing that top, which is why I wanted to do this live, because I do believe that time is of the essence here. And on the, what is having me say that is the volume climaxes. We have an hour volume climax. This is the highest hour volume that we've ever seen on NEO, and it's occurring after a huge move, and we're seeing a big wick form here. So all these signs are telling me that our temporary top is likely in. RSI means a lot less when we're in blue sky breakout, so keeping that in mind as well. Looking at the 4-hour time frame, highest 4-hour volume that we've ever seen, volume climax shaping up. 15-minute time frame, zooming in, we have a couple volume climaxes here up at the top. So all of these things are telling me that I would have locked in my profit already by now. I was not in a NEO position, but if I were, it would be on this break right here of 1119, 1119. This little consolidation, another move to the upside, that break is where I personally would be out. Now, this doesn't mean that this is the top. These are the signals that would have me wanting to exit personally, but I'm also very, very good at not having any FOMO. And if you see, and FOMO is fear of missing out. So when you see a move like this, you know you have big gains to the upside. Locking that in, for me personally, I don't care if it keeps running. If I'm using technical analysis and I'm seeing the signals that tell me to sell and it keeps going and it ends up being wrong, I'm very completely fine with that if I lock in the profit and it's a successful trade in that regard. So I'm a little bit different than a lot of people in that way, where, you know, people will sit there and feel bad after making a really significant gain if they didn't sell at the top. That's not me. I would be out and happy with my gains at this point. But let's see now on this 5-minute time frame if we form an equilibrium. We have our high and our low. We'll look to form a lower high and a higher low and see a tightening range form from here. Just read that a member missed out selling because their top here was right where their order was. And putting their numbers, putting your sell orders under psychological levels is important. This is 0.000000 forever 1 under 12. That's not really enough wiggle room. I personally would have put my sell order, if I was trying to sell under 12, it would have been at 0.01195 at the most. But you want to give that wiggle room under the psychological level so your orders fill first before other people who are not really as technical analysis savvy put their orders in on nice round numbers rather than typing out all those decimal places. So that's a little bit of a lesson there. Putting your order below psychological resistance levels. Right now, 0.012 is a clear resistance. So we're not seeing a collapse or anything like that, but keep in mind we just pulled back from 12 to 10.3. So that is a 10% pullback in under 10 minutes. And now the bulls are trying to buy back to the upside again. So we'll see if the bulls can break that level. But our new clear support is going to be 10.4. And our resistance is obviously that 12 level. And watching for an equilibrium pattern to form. And now I'm going to go through the rest of the names and we'll check back in on this before I end the video. So looking in at OMG, also huge move to the upside. Inside bars on the daily time frame have been beautiful signals. We had an inside bar break, and then another inside bar form, and then another bull break. So this is obviously a volume climax here as well, but we are not really seeing as much volatility as NEO is currently seeing. So not as significant of a short-term move, whereas the all-time high was 390 before, and here we are up at 660. So that is almost a 100% move over the all-time high. So it is obviously very significant. 4-hour time frame, volume climax at the high, inside bar forming on the 4-hour time frame. If we see a bear break of this 4-hour inside bar, I would look for consolidation to start. The hourly time frame, we have our high, the low, the pullback, and this is looking like the 5-minute time frame on NEO just looked like. We have our high, low of the pullback, and now we're watching for the equilibrium pattern to potentially form. But we don't have as much wild volatility as NEO, where NEO just dropped 10% in 10 minutes, whereas we're looking here 660 down to 560 essentially. That is over 10%, but it took 2 hours to play out. So once the top was hit here on OMG, on the 5-minute time frame, we consolidated. We had inside bars and a significant pullback, but it's not as wildly volatile as NEO currently is. So watching the same thing on the hourly time frame, equilibrium pattern. We have our high of 660, our low of 556. Now we're looking for a lower high to form. Look at the volume. The bull volume on this recovery is not significant enough to the point that I would be looking for a bull break in continuation. This is the kind of volume that would have me anticipate an equilibrium pattern forming. So the volume on the way up was perfect for the bulls. Look at every time we set a higher high, it was on increasing bull volume on this hourly time frame. And then we had decreasing bear volume on the periods of consolidation. So that's perfect volume on the uptrend. But again, we're extremely overextended to the upside, and we just need to be cautious. Personally, I would be walking stop loss levels up. And it all depends on how much wiggle room you want to give. Personally, I would be using the shorter term time frames, the 5 or the 15 minute, to indicate my exit. But there's double tops forming on both of these, where OMG, this is the 15-minute time frame now. We had a double top at 660, and then we had a bear break of this inside bar. The inside bar broke at 632. Just going back to NEO real quick, we had a double top at 12 and then a bear break of the inside bar that led to a quick 10% pullback. So the double tops are signaling the tops for now and watching to see if that's going to be the temporary top, and we begin to consolidate for a couple days at this point. So obviously there's a ton of hype on these two names, and the information is only spreading, but there is going to reach a point where supply and demand shift. We're going to see right now demand is obviously outweighing supply, and we're seeing huge moves to the upside. But as soon as everybody that wants in gets in, we're going to see it shift where demand is going to dwindle and supply of people looking to lock in profit is going to outweigh that demand, and we are going to pull back significantly. So just again, going back to, let's see the history here of OMG in terms of consolidation after breakouts. Haven't really had too much history to be looking at, but after this most recent breakout, we hit the high of 389, let's call it 390, and then we pulled back down to 251. So that's a $1.40 pullback. That is a 30% pullback in one day. So I am looking for a significant pullback once the top has hit. I do believe our tops are close to being hit. Not really completely confident in that just yet, unless we see a bear break of NEO, the support here that I just highlighted down at 10.4, or OMG, that support on the hourly time frame down at 556. If those two levels break, I will be a lot more confident that our temporary top is set and that we are going to begin the period of consolidation. So 2 names, congrats to the bulls, huge gains to the upside, but people are going to be taking their money out, traders at least, and looking to put those profits to work somewhere else, if not back in these names once they consolidate a bit. So I do not believe that we are going to see significant upside from here in the next 24 hours, which is why I would be just fine locking in my profit. And if we do see a little bit more upside, certainly not going to beat myself up about that. So looking at the big 3 now, Bitcoin on the daily time frame. We had the all-time high, we consolidated, formed another higher low. That's a new key support to be watching to keep the bulls in full control. It's 32.32, nice and easy to remember. And the bulls are showing back up, and we're approaching that all-time high. We're up near the high of the day. So we're looking at that all-time high of 34.89 resistance. And right now, the high of today is 34.47. So we're very close to that level. And zooming into different time frames, we see the 4-hour chart is seeing multiple inside bars forming. Watch for this break. If we get a bull break, we're going to test this all-time high. Look at that MACD. That MACD is our friend. And we are on the verge of a bull break here to head to this all-time high. And I might have to hurry up and finish this video so I can get in on it. So 34.47, 34.46, 34.41. 3 tops on the 4-hour time frame. If we get a bull break, we're looking at 34.62 and 34.89. The 2 resistance levels left, and a bull MACD cross will occur if we head back up to that all-time high. And we know what happens when bull MACD crosses occur. We get nice gains. So that's what we're looking at on Bitcoin right now. In terms of support, looking at the hourly time frame, our most recent higher low of support is 34.02, 34.0150. So if we break those levels, let's call it 34. If we break 3400, then that would be a setback if we do that without breaking those resistances I just pointed out, which we are on the verge of breaking. So watching very close. We're getting very tight here on Bitcoin. It's going to be a pretty key setup here in the next, this is probably going to play out in the next hour or 2. So definitely worth paying attention to, because we're either going to see a break of this hourly higher low pattern that's been in play for the past day and a half or 2, or we're going to see a bull move up towards that all-time high. And that is going to be worth playing if we get that bull move up that 4-hour MACD. Ethereum on the daily time frame, bearish reversal, indecision doji yesterday, not being confirmed today, inside bar forming on the daily time frame. So we'll be watching this inside bar tomorrow. This day is going to close in less than 1 hour. We're looking at the 4-hour time frame, and an equilibrium pattern is forming. We have our high. Let's put that exactly at our high. That resistance is now 314.71. We have our higher low at 276.55. Lower high looks like it was just set. That was at 309.80, and now the bulls will look to form a higher low compared to this level of 276.55. So we are still consolidating. Could make the argument that this is a potential bullish cup and handle pattern, where you have your cup and then you have your handle of consolidation, a little bull flag here before a breakout. So that's a potential play to be watching, and obviously we have to break the high of 314.71 to get that clear bull break, but that's something that is shaping up, and we are close to a bullish MACD cross. Bitcoin is the closest of the big 3 to a bullish MACD cross, so we would have to see a bull break of 314.71 in order for this 4-hour bull MACD cross to be closing in. Definitely, certainly possible. If Bitcoin does hit an all-time high, I would expect Ethereum to break this resistance, and the next resistance on Ethereum to be looking at, have to look to the daily time frame, and that's going to be up at 323.69. That's going to be the high back here, and that will be an important level to be watching. So pretty key levels are coming up here on both Bitcoin and Ethereum. Checking in on Litecoin on the daily time frame, multiple inside bars, and this is definitely worth watching. We've had multiple inside bars multiple times in the recent past 2 weeks. So I'm looking at inside bar, bull break with 2 days of upside, inside bar, bull break. They're really nice signals, and we're looking for a break of this inside bar today, tomorrow, which again is going to take place in 1 hour. So support is 47. The break's not going to take place in an hour. The changeover to the new day is. So support is 47.01 and resistance is 48.60. A break of 48.60, and we're looking up at $50 psychological, which is where we topped out on the last move. So resistance is the high of the inside bar, and then that $50 level. If we get a bear break of 47.01, we're looking at 46.66, and then on down. But these inside bars on this daily time frame, even bearish, has been giving good signals. We had an inside bar here on the daily, a bear break, and then multiple days of downside, multiple inside bars, a bear break, and a significant pullback for 2 days. So these inside bars are great for both directions. I'm liking them on LTC more so than on ETH and BTC, and they're also forming more often on this name. So definitely watching this tomorrow, which is Friday. 4-hour time frame has a couple higher lows to be watching. But really, it's just those daily levels to be watching to see that clear break in one direction or the other. And there's that resistance of 48.60, and our support of 47.01 is this low right down here. So that's the inside bar on the daily time frame. Just looking at it on the 4-hour time frame here. So that's those levels right there. That's our inside bar range on the daily time frame. So we're tightening up, and we're going to be looking for a clear break. We're furthest away from a bullish 4-hour MACD cross here on LTC. We're going to have to break 48.60, and even then, we're going to have to head up to $50 to see that bull break. So keeping an eye on Bitcoin to be the potential leader, and it might be even enough lag time here where we could potentially play, Bitcoin blue sky breakout for some upside, and then lock in some profit, and then maybe switch to one of these laggards if LTC is lagging behind a little bit. That's a bit more of a tricky play, and certainly easy to leave money on the table when trying to bounce around and do too much at once. But I am going to be watching Bitcoin because it's closest to this break right now, and then Ethereum is second closest to its break, and Litecoin all behind it. But it's a very important day coming up here, Friday, for these big three, because we're either going to see breaks of resistance, which looks more likely than not. The way things are shaping up, I do believe that we are going to see some nice continuation, but tomorrow, Friday, we're either going to see, well, it's really going to happen tonight, but the day on the candlestick on the daily chart will be tomorrow, which is a bit confusing. But I do believe that we're going to see a clear break tonight, and it's either going to be to the upside, which is more likely, or we will lose the hourly higher low pattern, which would take a pretty significant pullback at this point. So Bitcoin right now on the verge, and I'm going to be looking to potentially enter a position here right when I finish this video, because we're not too overbought on time frames here, checking RSI levels, which obviously don't mean as much on blue sky breakout levels. You can see we did just make a significant bull move here of $30 on the 5-minute time frame, so might look to wait for a little higher low to form before the bulls make another attempt there. But one thing is for sure, bulls have a lot of momentum right now on Bitcoin, and we are close to seeing this break occur. And again, just want to highlight it one more time, the 4-hour time frame, multiple inside candlesticks, and on the verge. And actually, I take that back. We did have a break of 68 cents to a lower low. So it is not an inside candlestick officially, but it's a clear triple top of resistance, with 34.47 being the clear level that needs to break for the bulls, which we are on the verge of doing. And then we will be right back up towards that all-time high. So checking back in on NEO, and look at that break. So there it is, a lower low on the 5-minute time frame. Bulls are attempting to defend that support, but it does look, that makes me a little bit more confident now that our high has been set for now. So our lower high is now 11.55. We'll see if we form a lower high compared to that on this attempt, but we are consolidating now, and it will be healthy consolidation at this point. We see lower wicks on the 15-minute time frame. We do have the volume climax up at the high hourly time frame. Hourly candlestick just flipped over, so an inside bar is likely to form on the hourly for NEO. But that 5-minute chart is seeing a bit of pullback, and still certainly going to be keeping an eye on it because I'm not entirely confident that our top is set for now, but more likely than not. So here's OMG coming up to test the high of 660, and we'll see if we set a lower high or if that is able to break. Some pretty critical moments here on all these names that I'm covering, all 5 of these names. In the next 2 hours, there are going to be some clear levels, and I'm certainly going to be in the chat room covering this for the next 2 hours, watching to see how it all plays out. So I appreciate you watching. Just wanted to get this out as soon as I could, and we will see, checking back in tomorrow and over the weekend, just how it all played out. Have a good rest of your night, and congrats to the Bulls.